cold nights on the open plains of New Mexico in the 1890s. For ranchers, they were pure terror. From deep within the darkness came a long, low, haunting howl, the voice of Lobo, the king of Currumpaw, a giant wolf with a mind sharper than any human could imagine. For years, he outsmarted expert hunters, ranchers, and even the most skilled trappers. But Lobo wasn't just a hunter. He was a leader, a strategist, a living symbol of wild nature's defiance against mankind. In this video, we'll discover how Lobo became a legend, why his name still lives on more than a century later, and the tragic fate that finally caught up with him. By the late 19th century, the Currumpaw Plains of northeastern New Mexico were still a wild, almost untouched land, a patchwork of rolling hills, shallow rivers, and endless grasslands. But that peaceful image wouldn't last long. Ranchers and European settlers began arriving with massive herds of cattle and sheep. With people came change, and for the wolves, it was a deadly one. Their natural prey in deer, antelope, and other grazers quickly disappeared. That meant there was only one big source of food left: the settlers' livestock. Soon, wolves began targeting the herds. Many packs were hunted down and wiped out. But one group of Mexican gray wolves, led by a massive male who would later be known as Lobo, struck fear into the hearts of every rancher in the region. Lobo and his pack hunted with precision. They would hit a herd and vanish without leaving the slightest trace. For 5 long years, Lobo raided human livestock, and according to many accounts, he and his pack killed more than 2,000 of the finest animals in the territory. But they weren't just killing for food. Lobo's wolves had little interest in eating mutton. Often, they seemed to kill for sport. Some ranchers swore they once lost over 250 sheep in a single night. And unlike most wolves that went for the weakest animals, Lobo's pack picked the best stock every time: the biggest cattle, or anything larger than themselves. The damage was so great that ranchers put out a bounty on Lobo's head: $1,000, about a year's wages for a skilled worker back then. But no one could catch him. Lobo wasn't just strong. He was a master of survival. He was huge for a wolf of his time, estimated to weigh over 130 pounds, with long legs, a crushing jaw, and a howl so deep and haunting it carried for miles through the night. That howl earned him the nicknames Old Lobo and the King of Currumpaw. But what truly made Lobo a legend wasn't his size or his voice. It was his unmatched intelligence. Ranchers tried everything to kill him: hundreds of steel traps, poisoned baits, packs of hunting dogs, even expert wolf hunters from other states. Time and time again, Lobo beat them all. The ranchers had tried everything to bring Lobo down: hundreds of steel traps, poisoned baits, packs of hunting dogs, and even professional wolf hunters brought in from other states. But time after time, Lobo outsmarted them all. One of the best hunters of the era, Ernest Thompson, came to New Mexico just to hunt him. He once told a story about a night when hunters placed 4 poisoned baits in different locations, hoping to wipe out Lobo's pack. By morning, all 4 baits had vanished, but there were no dead wolves. Later, they discovered what had happened. Using his incredible sense of smell and years of experience, Lobo had gathered every bait into one pile and buried them under dirt, as if he were warning his pack to stay away. For the hunters, it was shocking. Here was an animal that didn't just avoid traps, but seemed to protect and teach his pack. Ernest kept trying. Once he used a calf as bait. He wore gloves soaked in blood so the bait wouldn't carry his scent, avoided breathing too close to it, and even used a bone-handled knife instead of metal. Anything to prevent Lobo from detecting human touch. He poisoned the carcass and placed it in several spots. But the next day, every single bait was gone, and in their place, Lobo had left piles of his own droppings, as if mocking Ernest himself. The battle went on for years. The ranchers were exhausted, and Lobo was still free. Among Lobo's pack was a very special wolf, a white-furred female the hunters called Blanca, meaning white in Spanish. She was always at Lobo's side, acting as the eyes and ears of the pack. The hunters realized something. Lobo would risk anything to protect Blanca. Ernest knew that if he could get to her, he might finally get to Lobo. One day, he set a trap in Blanca's path, and it worked. She was caught and killed. After that, Lobo changed. The deep, powerful howl of the king of Currumpaw was gone, replaced by the mournful cry of a broken-hearted creature. A few days later, Ernest set another trap, this time baited with Blanca's scent. Lobo, reckless and grieving, walked right into it. Ernest finally had him, but Lobo didn't fight. He didn't howl. He simply stood there and looked Ernest straight in the eyes, so calm, as if he knew the game was over. They chained him by the neck and legs and brought him back to camp. But Lobo seemed to have nothing left to live for. That very night, without a single wound on his body, he died in silence. Ernest believed Lobo's heart had simply given out from grief. For Ernest, Lobo's death was a turning point. He had come to kill the wolf, but instead he left with a deep respect for him. Later, Ernest wrote in his book, "When I looked into Lobo's eyes, I could no longer see him as just an animal. I realized that even in the face of a wild wolf, nature holds a value we humans cannot truly understand." Ernest would go on to become one of the founding voices in wildlife conservation, and that was the story of the Wolf King. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep these legends alive.